At 2 a.m., I caught my stepmother deleting every photo of my dead mother. And smiling. 3 months later, I had her arrested for stealing $913,000 from my father's company. Here's how I took her down. But that wasn't even the most evil thing she did. Even worse is what she did to my mother's memorial jewelry the very next morning. Here's how I made sure she paid for every second of it. Let me rewind to show you how this psychopath systematically destroyed my family before I caught her in the act. When Mom died of heart disease, Dad fell apart for 2 years. Stopped eating, stopped caring about his construction business. I thought I'd lose him too. Then Rachel appeared like a miracle. Gorgeous real estate agent with the perfect sob story about her own dead husband. She brought casseroles, cried at all the right moments, and convinced me she wanted to honor Mom's memory. God, she was good. I was so desperate to see Dad smile again that I practically pushed them together. 8 months later, I gave a tearful maid of honor speech about second chances. When my lease ended, Rachel insisted I move back home so we could be real sisters. The erasure started immediately. Mom's coffee mugs accidentally broke in the dishwasher. Her photos moved to higher shelves. Her bedroom completely redecorated. Rachel convinced Dad to donate Mom's car without telling me, but I ignored every red flag because Dad was finally happy. Then came the night that changed everything. I was working late when I heard typing from my bedroom. Found Rachel at my laptop deleting every photo in my Mom Memories folder. 8 years of irreplaceable memories disappearing forever. "What the hell are you doing?" I screamed. She didn't flinch, just kept clicking delete. "Your pathetic mother is finally gone for good, just like you're going to be." Those photos were the only copies I had after my phone got stolen. She knew that. She'd seen my Instagram post about it. She'd been planning this digital assassination. "Dad's going to lose his mind when I tell him," Rachel laughed. "Tell him what? That you're having another breakdown about your dead mommy? David's tired of your grief, sweetie." Then she got vicious. "Your mother was weak and she raised an even weaker daughter, but don't worry. I'll teach you to be strong, starting with this conversation never happening." She stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "Because if you cause problems in my house, I'll make David choose, and honey, we both know who he'll pick." This was war, and she'd fired the first shot. But the next thing she stole crossed a line I never saw coming. The next morning brought fresh horror. Rachel was wearing Mom's pearl necklace, the one Dad promised would be mine someday, touching them deliberately while making breakfast. "Good morning, sweetie. David gave these to me yesterday. He said it was time someone alive got to wear them. When I confronted Dad, he was already poisoned against me. Rachel mentioned you seemed confused last night. She thinks you need grief counseling." She'd rewritten reality in 12 hours. "She deleted every photo I had of Mom. Rachel said you seemed agitated. She was just helping you organize files." Dad's dismissal shattered me. "Maybe focusing on digital memories isn't healthy," he continued. "Rachel's working so hard to make this home for all of us. Support her efforts to erase Mom from existence." That afternoon, I found Rachel in the garden wearing Mom's gardening gloves, ripping up Mom's prize rose bushes. "I want those photos restored," I demanded. Rachel pulled off the gloves theatrically. "There's no backup, sweetie. I made sure of that." She smiled. "Think of it as a fresh start." "Why are you doing this?" Her mask slipped completely. "Every photo of your precious Saint Mother reminds everyone I'm the consolation prize, that David settled for me because he couldn't have her back. Finally, honesty." "Here's what's happening," she continued, stepping closer. "You'll stop this victim act and show me respect as your father's wife, or find somewhere else to live." "And if I refuse?" Her smile turned predatory. "Your graphic design business depends on client trust. What happens when everyone hears you're having psychotic episodes and making wild accusations?" She was threatening my career too, but that wasn't her worst move. And that's when I found something that changed everything. The next morning, I discovered Mom's urn was gone from Dad's office. "Where's Mom's urn?" I demanded. Rachel was casually drinking coffee. "Oh, that old thing? David and I scattered the ashes yesterday. She's feeding my new rose bushes now. Much more productive than collecting dust." She destroyed Mom's remains without even telling me. I wanted to kill her. But then I realized something crucial. Rachel's need to escalate was also her weakness. She couldn't help leaving evidence of her psychopathy. Rachel's war against me escalated fast. Within 2 weeks, she'd erased every trace of Mom from the house. Photos, books, china, Even Mom's car donated without telling me. But her real target was my life. I came home to find her on the phone in Dad's office, voice dripping fake concern. "I'm so worried about Maya. She's been making paranoid accusations, claiming I'm trying to hurt her." She was calling my clients. "Oh yes, completely delusional. She accused me of stealing from David's business. I think grief has finally broken her." I burst in and grabbed the phone, but the damage was done. Jennifer, my $15,000 client, postponed our project indefinitely. "You psychotic devil," I whispered. Rachel's mask slipped. "You want to see psychotic? Keep pushing me." She posted on neighborhood Facebook claiming I was stealing packages and acting erratically. She used Dad's accounts to comment on my business posts about my mental health struggles. She even spoofed my phone number, creating fake threatening texts to show Dad. I just needed to catch her. But what I discovered next would expose a secret so twisted it made everything else look like child's play. Rachel's Instagram told a story that made my stomach drop. Designer bags, five-star dinners, luxury spa weekends, all on a real estate agent's salary that should barely cover rent. Where was this money coming from? Dad had mentioned Rachel helped with paperwork for his construction company. She had access to everything: office, files, company credit cards. I volunteered to help with bookkeeping. Dad was thrilled since his assistant had quit 6 months ago, right when Rachel started helping. Over the next 2 months, I methodically went through every statement, receipt, and transaction. What I found made me drop my coffee. Luxury spa treatments labeled client entertainment. Designer shopping sprees called business development. But Rachel's Instagram showed her enjoying these same purchases with girlfriends. She was stealing from Dad and documenting it online. Then I found hotel receipts for romantic weekends Dad never took, jewelry purchases Rachel wore in photos, tagged as gifts from hubby, monthly credit card payments disguised as consulting fees. The total was staggering, $913,000 over 18 months. But the real shocker came when I traced those hotel receipts. What I found in the booking details made my hands shake. She wasn't taking those romantic getaways alone. And then I saw whose hand she was holding in the photo that would destroy 2 families. I followed one of the hotel addresses to a luxury resort about 2 hours away. The next Friday, I decided to stake out the place. Sure enough, I spotted Rachel's car in the parking lot. Through the lobby windows, I watched her having dinner with a tall, handsome man who definitely wasn't my father. I snapped photos through the window, my heart pounding. Rachel was cheating on Dad. I spent the next week tracking down everything I could about this mystery man. Social media searches led me to Wayne Davidson, a successful real estate developer who worked with luxury properties. Rachel's business rival was her lover. For 3 weeks, I documented their affair. I followed them to restaurants, hotels, business meetings. I photographed every stolen kiss, every intimate dinner paid for with Dad's money. Even worse, Wayne was married with 2 young kids. His Instagram was full of family photos and posts about being a devoted husband and father. She was destroying 2 families. I needed concrete proof, so I did something that felt crazy but necessary. I started following them. I told Dad I was visiting college friends for the weekend. Instead, I parked down the street from our house and waited. Sure enough, Friday evening, a sleek black BMW pulled into our driveway. Wayne Davidson stepped out looking like something from a romance novel. Tall, dark hair, expensive suit. Rachel ran into his arms like they were starring in their own private movie. She was bringing her affair partner into my family home. I filmed everything from my car, their passionate kiss on the doorstep, him carrying her over the threshold, the lights going out in my parents' bedroom, the same bed where Mom had spent her final weeks dying of heart disease. Rachel was sleeping with another man in my dead mother's bed. Saturday morning, I followed them to an expensive brunch spot downtown. Using a telephoto lens, I captured photos of their intimate conversation. Rachel showing off the jewelry she'd bought with Dad's money. Wayne sliding what looked like business cards and legal documents across the table. Were they planning something together? When they left, I convinced the young waiter to let me see their receipt. Rachel had paid with Dad's company credit card, labeling the meal as a business development lunch. She'd used stolen money to pay for a date with her affair partner. But I wasn't prepared for what I discovered when I got home that evening. The betrayal was about to get so much worse. Dad was waiting for me in the living room with a face I'd never seen before. Cold, disappointed, and absolutely furious. Sit down, Maya, we need to talk. Rachel emerged from the kitchen with red puffy eyes like she'd been crying for hours. Dad, what's going on? Rachel told me about your threats, he said quietly. About how you've been stalking her, taking photos of her, and making her life hell? What the heck? I haven't been stalking anyone. Then explain these. Dad showed me printouts of photos from my phone, pictures I'd taken of Rachel's credit card receipts, screenshots of her Instagram posts, even photos of documents from Dad's office. She'd stolen my phone while I was showering and copied everything. I remembered leaving it on the kitchen counter that morning. Maya, this is disturbing behavior, Dad continued. Rachel said you've been following her, going through her personal belongings, and making wild accusations about her being a criminal. I looked at Rachel, who was dabbing her eyes with tissues and playing the victim perfectly. She's lying, Dad. I can prove everything. Prove what? That you've been invading her privacy and harassing her? Dad's voice was getting louder. Rachel showed me the photos you took of her at restaurants, the way you've been digging through business files that have nothing to do with you. She'd flipped the entire script, made me look like the crazy stalker. Dad, please listen to me. Rachel has been stealing from your company. I have proof. The only proof I see is that my daughter has become obsessed with destroying my marriage. Rachel let out a sob. I tried so hard to love her like my own daughter, David, but she hates me because I'm not her mother. The performance was absolutely flawless. I think, Dad said slowly, that you need to find your own place to live. This situation has become unhealthy for everyone. She was winning. Rachel was actually going to drive me out of my family. Dad, you're making a terrible mistake. The only mistake I made was enabling this behavior for so long. You have 2 weeks to find an apartment. As I sat there in stunned silence, Rachel met my eyes over Dad's shoulder and smiled. A small, triumphant smile that told me exactly what she'd been planning all along. She wanted me gone so she could destroy Dad completely, but she had no idea that I'd already set her destruction in motion, and what happened next would shock even me. I was packing my belongings the next morning when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Is this Maya Thompson? The voice was female, nervous. Yes? My name is Jessica Martinez. I'm the accountant for your father's company. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a coffee shop across from a worried-looking woman in her 30s. Maya, I've been trying to figure out how to handle this situation for weeks, Jessica said quietly. I think your stepmother is embezzling money from your father's business. Thank God. Someone else had noticed. I've been documenting everything, I told her, but Rachel convinced my dad that I'm having a mental breakdown. Jessica's eyes widened. That explains why she asked me not to mention the discrepancies to your father. She said you'd been making paranoid accusations about financial irregularities. Even the company accountant was being manipulated. Jessica, I need your help. Rachel's not just stealing money. She's having an affair and planning to destroy my dad completely. For the next hour, I showed Jessica everything. The credit card statements, the hotel receipts, the photos of Rachel with Wayne Davidson. Jessica's face grew more horrified with each piece of evidence. Maya, this is organized fraud. We're talking about multiple felonies. I know, but my dad won't listen to me. Rachel's convinced him I'm mentally unstable. Jessica was quiet for a moment, then her expression hardened. What if we made it impossible for him to ignore the evidence? Now we were talking. But what Jessica told me next revealed Rachel's plan was even more sinister than I'd imagined. Maya, there's something else, Jessica said, lowering her voice. Rachel approached me 6 months ago asking suspicious questions about bookkeeping procedures. She wanted to know how to spot if someone else was stealing, but her questions felt like she was learning how to avoid detection herself. I've been documenting irregularities ever since, but I needed someone else to see the pattern. That's why Jessica had been building a case for months. When I heard you were investigating too, I knew we had to work together. This is bigger than either of us realized. Rachel wasn't just stealing money, she was setting me up to take the fall. Jessica and I spent the next month building an ironclad case. She had been quietly documenting financial irregularities for months, while I provided the missing pieces about Rachel's affair and psychological manipulation. Together, we created a forensic timeline spanning 18 months of crimes. But I had an even better idea for exposing Rachel's affair. What if we caught them in the act? I suggested. With witnesses? Jessica looked nervous. What do you mean? Rachel's been using the company card to pay for her affair. What if we arrange for my dad to accidentally discover her next romantic weekend? We checked the credit card pending charges and found exactly what we needed. A reservation for next weekend at the same luxury resort where Rachel had taken Wayne before. Perfect. I convinced Dad to plan a surprise romantic getaway for the same weekend, suggesting he book the same resort where he and Rachel had honeymooned. I know I've been difficult lately, I told him. I think Rachel deserves something special after everything she's been through with me. Dad was thrilled at the idea. He booked the honeymoon suite for Saturday night, planning to surprise Rachel with a weekend of reconnection. If only he knew what kind of reconnection he was about to witness. Friday evening, I watched from my car as Wayne Davidson's BMW pulled into our driveway again. They kissed passionately on the doorstep before disappearing inside. I sent Dad a text. Hey Dad, I feel terrible about how I acted and how things went. The way I upset Rachel. What if you surprised her with that getaway tonight instead of tomorrow? I bet she'd love the spontaneous gesture. Dad texted back immediately. That's a wonderful idea. I'll head over to the resort now and surprise her in the morning. The trap was set. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Dad's name on the caller ID. Maya. His voice was hollow, broken. You were right about everything. But what he found wasn't just an affair. It was a scene so twisted it would haunt him forever. Dad had arrived at the resort around 10 p.m. Friday night and gotten a key to the honeymoon suite, planning to surprise Rachel in the morning with breakfast in bed. Instead, he found her with Wayne Davidson. I walked in on them, Dad said numbly. She was wearing the pearl necklace, your mother's necklace, while she was in bed with him. His face twisted in pain, shock, disgust, and horror at the recalled memory. I felt sick, not just because of the affair, but because Rachel had deliberately worn Mom's jewelry while cheating. Dad, I'm so sorry you had to see that. She looked right at me and said, David, you're early, like I was interrupting a business meeting. His voice cracked. Then she started laughing. Maya, she was laughing while wearing your mother's pearls. Even caught red-handed, Rachel was ice cold. What did you do? I couldn't move. I just stood there while she got up, still wearing nothing but your mother's necklace, and started explaining how this was just stress relief and that I was overreacting. Dad paused, his voice breaking. She told me that if I was a better husband, she wouldn't need Wayne, that your mother was probably rolling in her grave knowing how pathetic I'd become. Rachel had turned, getting caught into another way to psychologically torture my father. Dad, we can fix this. I have evidence of everything. The financial fraud, the systematic theft, all of it. Show me everything. 2 hours later, Dad sat in stunned silence as I walked him through 18 months of financial crimes. The spreadsheets, the forged documents, the credit card statements showing how Rachel had stolen nearly $1 million from his company. She's been planning this since the day she met you, I explained. The grief counseling, the isolation from friends, even getting rid of Mom's things. It was all designed to make you dependent on her. Dad buried his face in his hands. I gave her access to everything. The business accounts, the house, even your mother's jewelry. Dad, there's more. I think Rachel and Wayne have been planning to destroy your business relationships and force you into bankruptcy. Then they'd probably divorce you and take whatever's left. When Dad looked up, his grief had transformed into pure rage. Call the police, right now! But I wasn't done with my revenge yet. Rachel needed to be exposed publicly, and I had the perfect plan to make it absolutely devastating. Before we involved the police, I convinced Dad to let me handle one final piece of the puzzle. Rachel needed to be exposed publicly, in front of everyone who mattered in her professional and social circles. She destroyed my reputation, I told Dad. Now I want to destroy hers. Sunday evening was Rachel's real estate agency's annual awards dinner, a huge industry event where she was supposed to receive an award for excellence in client relations. Perfect timing. But first, I had one more surprise to deliver. I called Wayne Davidson's wife, Sarah, and arranged to meet her for coffee. Mrs. Davidson, I have something you need to see, I said, sliding a folder across the table. Your husband has been having an affair with my stepmother, and they've been using stolen money to fund their relationship. Sarah's face went white as she looked through the photos, hotel receipts, and credit card statements. This weekend, she whispered. He told me he was at a work conference. He was at the Grandview Resort with Rachel. My father caught them together. Sarah's shock turned to fury. That nasty, evil woman. She came to our house for dinner last month. She held my babies and talked about the importance of family values. There's more. I think they've been planning to leave their spouses and start a new life together using the money Rachel stole. Sarah's eyes hardened. What do you need from me? Come to Rachel's awards dinner tonight. I'm going to expose everything publicly, and I want Wayne to see his family fall apart in real time. That evening, I arrived at the awards dinner with a folder full of evidence and a heart full of righteous fury. Rachel was at the head table in a stunning red dress, bought with Dad's money, of course, accepting congratulations from colleagues and clients. She spotted me across the room and her face went white. I walked straight to the microphone during the networking portion of the evening. Excuse me, everyone. I have an important announcement about tonight's award recipient, Rachel Williams. The room went quiet. Rachel was frantically shaking her head and trying to motion for security, but I was already talking. Many of you know Rachel as a successful real estate agent and devoted wife. What you don't know is that she's been embezzling money from her husband's construction company to fund an affair with a married client. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rachel stood up, her face furious. "This woman is mentally unstable," she shouted. "She's been stalking me and making false accusations." Really? I held up the folder. Because I have 18 months of credit card statements showing how you used company funds to pay for hotel rooms, romantic dinners, and jewelry, all for your affair with Wayne Davidson. I saw Wayne in the crowd, standing with Sarah and their kids. His face went ghostly pale as Sarah stepped forward. "That's right," Sarah called out, her voice carrying across the silent room. "My husband has been cheating on me with this woman for over a year. They thought they were so clever, but Maya Thompson caught them red-handed this weekend." The room erupted in shocked whispers. Rachel's face went from angry to desperate. "That's a lie!" Rachel screamed, but her voice cracked. "Is it? Because I also have photos of you and Wayne together, including timestamps from this weekend when you were caught in bed with him at the Grandview Resort, wearing my dead mother's pearl necklace while you slept with another woman's husband." The crowd gasped. Several people started recording with their phones. "Ladies and gentlemen," I continued, "Rachel Williams has stolen $913,000 from my father's business while pretending to be a grieving widow who understood loss. She destroyed my dead mother's photos, threw away her ashes, and tried to have me committed to cover up her crimes." Rachel was screaming at security to remove me, but the damage was done. Every phone in the room was recording. Every professional relationship she'd built was crumbling in real time. "The police will be arresting her tomorrow for multiple felonies. I thought you all deserved to know who you've been doing business with." I dropped the microphone and walked out, leaving Rachel to face the wreckage of her carefully constructed reputation. The video was on social media within hours, but Rachel's humiliation was just beginning. The next morning would bring a surprise that even I wasn't prepared for. Monday morning brought the most satisfying phone call of my life. "Maya Thompson, this is Detective Sarah Morrison. We're ready to make an arrest." I met the police at Dad's office, where Jessica had prepared a comprehensive financial report detailing every fraudulent transaction. When Detective Morrison saw the evidence, she whistled. "This is one of the most thorough embezzlement cases I've ever seen. Your stepmother is looking at serious prison time." Rachel arrived home that evening expecting to find Dad devastated and begging for forgiveness. Instead, she found Dad, Detective Morrison, and me sitting in the living room with boxes of evidence. Her face cycled through shock, denial, and finally cold calculation as she realized her con was over. "David, I can explain everything. Explain how you've been stealing from my company for 18 months? Dad's voice was ice. "Or explain how you've been sleeping with Wayne Davidson in my dead wife's bed?" Rachel's mask finally fell completely. No more tears, no more victim act, just pure sociopathic rage. "You think you've won?" she snarled at me. "Your father will never get over losing me. I made him happy in ways your precious dead mother never could." But before Detective Morrison could arrest her, Rachel pulled out her phone and started frantically deleting files. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Destroying evidence you'll never find," she snarled. "Rachel Williams, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, identity theft, and racketeering." As they handcuffed her, Rachel turned to me with absolute hatred. "This isn't over, you little tramp. When I get out, I'll make sure you pay for destroying my life." I smiled sweetly. Actually, Rachel, I think destroying Mom's photos and throwing away her ashes was what destroyed your life. I just made sure everyone found out who you really are. But the Vindication Cascade was just beginning. Within hours of Rachel's arrest, the story exploded on social media. The video from the awards dinner went viral, racking up millions of views and thousands of comments from people sharing their own stories of dealing with manipulative step-parents and financial abusers. Wayne Davidson's business imploded overnight. Sarah had filed for divorce that morning and taken their kids to her parents' house. His biggest clients canceled their contracts after seeing the awards dinner video. His professional reputation was destroyed, and the real estate board launched an ethics investigation. But the most satisfying consequence came when 3 other victims saw the news coverage and came forward with evidence of Rachel's previous cons. Turns out, this wasn't her first time targeting grieving widowers. She'd been running similar schemes for years, moving from city to city and leaving a trail of broken families and empty bank accounts. The DA upgraded her charges to include organized fraud and racketeering. Instead of facing 5 years, Rachel was now looking at 15, 20 years in federal prison. But there was one final twist that would make this victory absolutely perfect. The sweet taste of justice. 2 weeks after Rachel's arrest, Dad and I were cleaning out her belongings when we found something that made my heart stop. Hidden in her jewelry box was an external hard drive. When we plugged it in, we discovered that Rachel had actually backed up all the photos she'd deleted from my laptop. Every single memory of Mom was there, completely intact. She'd kept them as future blackmail material. She was planning to use these against us, Dad said quietly, probably threatening to destroy them permanently if we ever tried to leave her. But that wasn't all we found on the drive. Rachel had been documenting everything: photos of her affairs, recordings of her manipulating Dad, even detailed plans for how she intended to frame me for embezzlement using fake financial records. "Dad, look at this," I said, opening a folder labeled Psychological Profiles. Inside were detailed notes about Dad's grief patterns, my emotional triggers, and step-by-step plans for how to systematically break down our relationship. She'd been planning to destroy us both from the very beginning, treating our pain like a game she could win. As I scrolled through the recovered photos, Mom's laugh, her terrible cooking attempts, our silly selfies together, Dad put his arm around me. "Your mother would be so proud of how you handled this," he said. "You fought for our family with more courage and intelligence than I've ever seen." "I learned from the best," I replied, looking at a photo of Mom in her favorite gardening hat. She always said that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. 6 months later, Rachel was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution plus damages. Wayne Davidson lost his business, his family, and his reputation. He ended up working as a junior associate at a struggling firm, his real estate license permanently revoked. The 3 other victims Rachel had conned over the years received justice they'd been seeking for decades. One of them, an elderly man whose late wife's jewelry Rachel had stolen, broke down crying when he heard about her sentence. But the sweetest vindication came when Dad met someone new, Dr. Grace Chen, a wonderful oncologist who had worked at the heart disease center where Mom received treatment. Grace loved hearing stories about Mom and never tried to compete with her memory. Instead, she helped Dad create a beautiful memorial garden where we could visit and remember. Sarah Davidson also found happiness again. She started a support group for wives of cheating husbands and eventually wrote a book about rebuilding after betrayal. We became close friends, bonding over our shared experience of exposing the same sociopaths. On the first anniversary of Rachel's arrest, I was editing photos for a client when Dad knocked on my office door. "Maya, I have something for you." He handed me a gorgeous photo album filled with all the recovered pictures of Mom, plus dozens more that Grace had helped him find in old storage boxes. The first page had an inscription in Dad's handwriting: "For Maya, who fought for love, memory, and justice when I was too blind to see the truth. Mom would be proud. Dad is grateful. Love conquers all, including sociopaths." Looking back, I realized that Rachel's cruelty actually gave me something precious: the absolute proof that love and memory are stronger than manipulation and greed. She tried to erase Mom from our lives, but instead, she made us remember why Mom's values, truth, justice, and protecting family, were worth fighting for. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's making sure the person who hurt you faces the natural consequences of their own evil choices. Justice tastes even sweeter when it comes with 18 years in federal prison, $913,000 in restitution, and the knowledge that her own carefully documented evidence helped put her away. And somewhere, I know Mom is smiling.